Susan, how's it going?
Good, how are
And just, I want to make clear.
Oh, not too bad. Theo, how are we doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad.
Good.
So Theo, so you guys know, the minutes for August 23rd were just posted like Friday at 4:30 in the afternoon. And I've been straight out at work, so I haven't got those minutes.
Yeah.
No, it's-
No worries about that at all.
No worries. Susan, do we actually have an agenda that's been published for this meeting? I don't know if I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. So speaking of,
You know what? I take it back. I apologize. I completely skipped my mind. I found it right here.
okay, you have it? You have it. Okay. Okay. And the August 9th meeting minutes were attached to that. Okay, good. Phew.
Sorry, didn't mean to have a heart attack situation.
That's okay. Like, I think I did that. Maybe not.
I can relate when someone's like, "Did you do this?" And you're like,
Hmm.
"I thought I
I
did
thought I
it." Yes? Question mark.
Right.
I-
Yep.
man, I really do hate that moment. So yeah. Boy. All right. So yeah. So I claimed the host. Jim, you're the co-host. I keep doing weird things with my mouse. I guess right at 7 I'll start the live transcript, maybe when others get here.
So I got that email you sent, Theo, about the letter that's gonna go in the paper.
Yeah, so good, the live transcript's not going. I sort of screwed up and we didn't get that out soon enough. So we want to edit that letter. We'll do that today or tonight and sort of see. Aaron was going to look up one thing to see when the town council is meeting in October. So that, because look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Because Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day,
Right.
conflicts with their meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
How you doing, Aaron? Hi, Matt. Matt.
Hey guys.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'll be right on. I'm just getting my kids settled and I'll be right back.
Fantastic. Susan, you don't by chance remember how to sign up for like a table at the October 8th town thing? Do you?
I think you would speak to Jen McDonald or Erin.
Okay. All right.
They just spoke to the town council last night about it.
All right. Okay. All right. So we'll bring that up later. Hello, Bill. Welcome back.
Hello, Chair Theo. Thanks.
That's a good background.
Yeah, just the usual kind of like
Yeah.
Boston Twilight.
Yeah.
Yep. It was just easier to stay here tonight. Onboarding a lot of new employees, which is good,
Yeah.
but also broke my chain on the way in today. So I was about 3 miles from home and my chain broke. So I fixed it. Got like about a half a mile from work and it broke again. So threw it in the trash and just kicked my way the rest of the way to work. So I'll take the commuter rail home tonight.
Yeah. Right back. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a bit of that puts a wrinkle in the commute for sure.
Okay. I was still in work on time.
Yeah. All right. That's impressive. Yeah, I'm finding that the orange line, green line stuff is, I think, problematic for a lot of people, but not as problematic for me. So.
I have a coworker that also comes in from Wakefield and is taking the commuter rail for free, and says his commute is actually faster than it was before going to the orange line and then taking the orange line in.
Yeah. It's a nice $14 a day savings too. So that's
Yep.
That's a pretty good gig. Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a quorum, and so we can. It's 7:02, so we should call ourselves to order. And when Megan is able to join us, she will for sure. So just a quick roll call. Jim Hogan.
Here.
Bill Spalding.
Here.
Matt Lowry.
Here.
And myself, Theo Knoll, here. So it's great, Susan, to have you, and it's great, Aaron, that you are back and in action. So that's terrific. We only have, for item 2 is approval of the minutes. We have the August 9th minutes are available for discussion. We'll get to the August 23rd minutes, I think, at our next meeting. Any questions, comments, discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as proposed.
Yeah, all right.
Second that.
All right, terrific. Let's see, all in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill?
Yes.
All right, and Matt?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Hi, Megan. Glad you're joining us. We're reviewing and approving the August 9th minutes. All right. I'll vote yes, and so that's approved. Oh, all right. Okay. All sorts of fun logging in. Hey, Megan. So
Hi.
we were just going through the August 9th minutes. Bill and Matt made a motion and we were voting to approve it.
Thank you for catching me up.
Yeah. If you wanted to add your vote to approve them, you're welcome to.
Yes, my vote would be yes.
Fantastic. Terrific. Our third item is discussing the procedures for changing the street names. I think we need to revisit the calendar, and so And hopefully I haven't put us in a too great a hole by not getting a letter around for us or getting a letter in the paper for a public hearing, a public forum. But before we do that, Bill, do you have any final edits, comments?
No, just the ones I sent to you where the town clerk, $800 for
Yeah.
a fee, and town council, Tom Mullen, suggested, as we discussed in our previous meeting in August, on August 9th, that we would propose the bylaw change.
Yeah.
Send a letter to town council. We would ask town council to place that wording on the town meeting warrant. And now that we know the dates for the deadlines, town meeting, as some of you might know, is on November 19th, which is a Saturday, at 9 a.m. The deadline for any town meeting warrant items is noon on Friday, October 21st. So we are looking at a September 27th meeting and an October 11th meeting before we have to submit our town meeting warrants. Town council, I believe, meets again on September 26th. So they just met last night, and I'm not sure of how we would proceed with this, except for putting this on our next meeting's agenda as a public meeting. Time-wise, I think we would have to look at the October 11th meeting for our public meeting, if anybody's keeping track at home. And that would give us one full meeting to discuss this with the public, make any updates or changes that we would like to from the comments from the public, and then submit our planning board's recommendation to town council for the town meetings warrant that week. Does this make sense to everyone?
Can you run that? We
Yeah.
would need to put the letter in now, discuss it at the October 11th meeting,
Yes,
and then refer. So October 11th is really the last, the speak now or forever hold your peace for our board to get
Yes.
on the warrant.
yes. We could, from what Tom Mullen said, we could just go ahead and put it on the town council, just the way it is. We don't have to have a public meeting, but we want to. I want to.
Yeah.
And I think after listening, I did listen to the recording, and I have to say it was really cool listening to you at 1.75 speed, all talk on the meeting video. But it was, yes, my recommendation would be is that we get the public information, whether it's through the item notice, that we have a public meeting on October 11th. That will be our comments from the public. We review, we comment, we have that whole week to, we have another week and a half. We have until 10/21 to, it's a week and a half.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have till 10/21 to get that town meeting warrants in noon on Friday.
Bill,
So-
at the last meeting, we discussed like the difference between having like a public forum versus a public meeting. So if we didn't do the public meeting and we did a public forum, we could utilize the meeting on the 27th. And I know that was a discussion point at
Yep.
the last meeting, so.
I understand, and from listening to it, I think we've done this before, Matt, where we have the public forum. We don't need public notice, but it is good to get something, as discussed in your previous meeting, that Megan would send a letter to the item and it would be posted in preparing the public for the discussion.
Yeah.
Right. If we wanted to go the route of having a public meeting, it would need to be on 10/11 with the proper notices posted.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have to do any public meeting if we don't want to, but I feel that we should have it.
So it's not required for this to have a public? Okay,
It's section, it's general laws 40A, section 5, and it's very vague as far as the attorney general and what is required for a zoning bylaw change. It's really the 2/3 vote at town meeting that they really care about. So we could do what we want.
So
Really.
But the point is October 11th would not be a formal public hearing. That would be our lower level public forum. Just
No, October
invite-
11th would be with notice. That would be the meeting because we need, but 9/27, our next meeting, we could have just a public forum.
Okay.
Meaning a discussion, no notice required, but we could inform the public through a letter to the item like that was drafted, and that would be fine. I think it's in our best interest because we want this to go through, that we hold the public forum and we, I don't want to say educate, but we share with the public what we have and why we have it the way we do, written in the bylaw, proposed bylaw change. And that way at town meeting, we have a better chance of having it pass.
Okay. All right. So I'm in agreement. I was sort of getting hung up on the the lower level public forum versus more formal public meeting.
Hearing,
Public hearing, yeah.
Yep.
And after a formal public hearing, do we have to give it to town council?
We do, but because we already, and this is the part that in 40A section 5 is not so clear, that a proposed zoning bylaw change, I can hear Tom Mullen's voice in my head, a proposed zoning bylaw change only has to be sent to town council as the governing body and then sent back to us before going before going on to the town meeting. Sorry, it's been a long day. Feels like it's Thursday or Friday. Town meeting warrant. So we don't have to go back through town council once we hold our public forum or a public hearing or whatever. We just have to get it into the town for the warrant by that deadline on noon Friday, October 21st.
Okay, so I get it. So we're sending it to town council for them on 9/26. Got it. All right.
Yep.
All right. That works. So does that make
Bill,
sense to everybody else?
this isn't a zoning change. This is a general bylaw though, correct? So
It's covered under, well, yeah, it's a bylaw change. I have zoning in there. You're
yeah,
right.
it's a general bylaw change.
My mistake. It's general. Yep. Section 4, yeah, 40A, section 5 is general. My mistake. I believe it still needs 2/3 votes as a bylaw change. I'm not positive, but I believe it does.
I'll just chime in here real quick. When we did the proposed bylaw with the stream back in the fall, that was 2/3. And we did have to have public meetings for that as well. So, sorry, just getting my kids situated, but.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good then. That makes sense. All right.
Well, let's take the next steps. So a notice placed on our planning board website that our next meeting on 9/27 will be a public forum to review a general bylaw change for street name change. And that would also coincide with a letter to the item?
Yeah.
Okay. Which I believe was that the draft that you sent out today, Theo?
Yeah, it is, it needs a fair amount of editing. So if we can take a quick couple of minutes to do that, and then
I have it
and
up
then,
if you let me share my screen.
sure. I just selected multiple participants.
Yep, that works.
Yeah, okay.
Can you all see that? September 14th. And this is, I quickly went through it when you sent it, but I don't know if everybody's got a chance to read it. I think it's clear, right? The town, I'm not going to read it out loud, but
Yeah, right.
right. So
Yeah. Right.
I just to clean it up a little bit more, I
Yeah.
was thinking, do we get rid of some of it and keep it really
Yeah.
simple?
Yeah, I would.
I'm thinking of who's reading it.
Right.
I think less is more.
Yeah.
And I think we should change it from update to establish,
Oh, okay.
because we currently don't have, we had one, but we don't anymore, so.
And I don't know if we want to spend this time wordsmithing this, or is it better that I go through it and get it back to the
I think,
board?
I think if someone wants to volunteer, I would advocate to delegate this to a member of the board and have them wordsmith it and then issue it on our behalf.
Okay, this is very in my head, so I don't mind doing this.
Okay.
And maybe I could pass it on to Megan right after. She can help me with it with her wizardry, and then share it with the board.
Works for me.
Okay. All right. Was easier. Okay. Oh, well, let me share again, because I do have the actual name change bylaw as well.
Yeah.
So not much has changed. We added that little part here where proposed street name shall not have more characters than set by the DPW regulations.
Yeah.
If regulations is the correct word, that was a question. That way it's controlled by them. We don't have a 25 character or anything in there. The 800 was added, and those were the only two changes to this draft from version 2 back in July.
Did I screw something up with your share screen?
Are you not seeing this?
No, I see a big sort of a partial of word.
Let me try again. Share screen,
Yeah.
name change bylaw.
Yeah.
Proposed street name
Yeah,
change
there we go.
bylaw.
Yeah.
Okay, so right here where the proposed street name shall not have
Yeah.
more characters
Mhm.
than set by the DPW regulations.
Yeah.
And the 800 right here.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
rest of it is still what we approved back,
Yeah.
I think in July.
I had a side conversation with the town clerk just on other things, and she mentioned that she's not really the one who approves of butters,
Right.
that maybe, that's Public Works.
Is it Public Works or is it the town assessor? It's
Town
Public Works.
assessor.
Oh, Town
Okay.
Assessor, thank you.
Yeah,
That's-
which is
that's
fine.
it.
I had the same conversation with Betsy, but it
Okay,
still goes to the town clerk.
all right.
So I don't want to confuse this. I don't mind changing it, but I don't want to confuse it and just have it like the town clerk's responsible for getting it done. Whoever they pass it off to, that's fine.
Got it, fair enough, all right.
They
thank
know
you.
what they need to do to get it done. I don't, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Then, yeah. Then it, I think I'm good. Is it everybody else?
Okay, so is the question, do we actually take this wording and place that in the item? With just an introduction, please be advised, the town planning board will have a public forum on said date. And you're invited to please provide feedback as we propose this bylaw change as an article at the next town meeting. Is it that simple? And then we have the wording in there so everybody in the town can see everything. They could be prepared for the meeting.
Yeah, so.
I would advocate, I believe that's the proper course of action, to be as clear as possible while not confusing the issue as much as possible.
Okay,
Just to play devil's advocate, people don't read anything, so. But I think if we have the best intentions to put it in there, then those that do hopefully do read it. So I don't know, I could
Yeah.
see it. I could see
Yeah.
it.
It's funny you say that, Megan. My son delivers the item. He's had the paper route since he was 11. And he's been delivering to a lot of houses. And when we say that to friends that are not from around here, they're like, a paper route still? Who reads papers? So anyway, it is a funny thing. Any other comments about sharing this proposed bylaw change in the item with a simple heading across the top?
I would only say we need to post the actual bylaw on the website and say it can be viewed there. In its
Oh, that's a better
entirety,
idea.
so, yeah.
Awesome. I
yeah,
love that, Matt.
Yeah.
That way people can see it before they even attend the meeting and maybe even say we, welcome email solicitation or something too, if you want to do that. Or
And
any
Bill-
comments, so.
Bill, I'll raise my hand. If you send me the draft bylaw, I'm in contact with Jen regarding other matters with our website. So I can add that to the list to coordinate with her if that's an easier way to segregate the work.
Okay. I could do that.
Yeah, if it's ready to go, we should just put it up as soon as possible.
I
Yeah.
feel it's ready to go. And then the item can be just a simple, go to our website, public forum. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Put that wording together. Yep, sounds good.
So, and again, we're gonna have a public forum on the 27th and then a formal public hearing on the 11th.
No, I don't think we need a formal public hearing on the 11th at all.
Okay,
Not for the proposed street name change.
Yeah, all right.
Unless I missed something. Just
No,
a public
that's-
forum would be enough.
okay, all right. So, excellent, okay, good, well, all right. So, is there, all right. So it really is as soon as we can, getting things updated on the website and getting the letter to the item.
Right.
Is there, do we need to give ourselves until Thursday? Is that fair?
For a public forum, we don't have to have any required advance notice for our meeting, different than a public.
Okay,
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't see why we can't get this in. I'll find out. I don't know what the deadline is for the item.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
And we want it to run 1 day or 2 days. I'm not sure about that either.
Susan's got her hand up, I think. or,
I just wanted to talk about the time that's on this letter. I know the letter's going to be changed, but do we have to put the time as beginning at 7:05? Because I know two other agenda items that are going to be on September 27th, and they'd probably want to go before the public forum.
Good point.
Okay,
yeah.
Do
so
we want to
it's-
say 7:30? I mean, what are the items that are going to be in front of us? Are they?
Brian McGrail has something and Michael McCarthy will have something.
Okay.
So we've got an A&R from the Grail and. Okay.
I didn't know if you
Right.
have a time in this letter.
I don't think so, right? We'll just have times or like an order on the agenda, so then people.
Yeah, maybe you can just note, like, see the planning board agenda for the
Yeah.
official time or something, once we have a better idea of what that agenda looks like.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
I like Matt's point of keep pointing people to the website.
And I would point out that we probably should have a time because people are gonna wanna, they're not gonna tune in, and if we have to go through a couple discussions on other items and particularly hang around, so which is part of the tricky thing with actually having, times for an agenda or a public hearing, because you really want to start at that time you say. So we may want to push off the other items until after this. That way we do have a set time. I know the attorneys can delay their participation, they're singular people, where if we have potentially multiple people, we don't want them all hanging around, not knowing when exactly we're going to get to it. That would be just my suggestion. And then the other suggestion for the paper is that you may want to have two. If you post something, you're going to have it in 2 weeks. No one's going to remember it because, again, back to Megan's point, if people do read it, they don't really comprehend too well. So maybe one a couple days before, or even the day before, if possible, to get the most bang. Because again, it's tougher. I know I have the best intentions of attending even Zoom meetings, and it just, time flies and you miss it. So
So that might be, we might shoot for the 16th if possible, and then the 22nd. In the item.
Or do we do the 26th, that Monday?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at my calendar incorrectly.
I don't think we'll get it in for the 15th. So
Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
So,
That's-
yeah, right. So maybe Monday, maybe, Tuesday, the 20th, and then Monday, the 26th.
and I don't know if they're gonna run it as a letter or maybe as a, article, so you may want to just double check with them. I know letters are dependent on space sometimes.
Mhm.
If something's going on and we're getting closer to elections, then that there may be a lot of letters in the paper, and they're gonna pick and choose which are the better ones to put in. So basically a self-advertisement letter may not get it, but a little byline article will definitely get in there.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. That's better resolution than I was anticipating. So thank you, everybody. All right, so post to the website, 2 things in the paper, 9/27, we'll put it on our agenda. And maybe this will be the first thing on the agenda. And got it. All right.
Right, to Matt's point, it would be the first thing on the agenda, obviously after reviewing the meeting minutes.
Yep, yep.
We go right into that. So if it is 7:05, do we say we give it till 8 o'clock? Sounds like a lot of time, but
Well, we can put a time limit on if needed, but I'm guessing we may have a few people that may want to comment on it, but
Yeah.
okay,
I don't think it's gonna go on all night.
I
no,
also don't know if there's a necessary to put a time clock on it unless we have another item that is time constrained in terms of the start time.
right,
I don't think an A&R doesn't warrant, listing a specific start time.
that's a good point, Jim. They're used to waiting for hours at the ZBA, so I think we'll be all right.
All right. Okay. Terrific. That's great. Okay. So let's do item 4. Discuss revision of subdivision rules and regs. So,
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. So I know I sent this. Did I send it today or yesterday? I believe I sent it to everyone.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the days anymore, so. I went through and tried to add the comments that we had made last time. I don't know if I captured them all. As I'm going through it each time, I see different things, and I've been adding to it. So I've been working on the working draft copy right now. I do fully intend to go update the red line version, so you can basically follow along and see what has been added, moved, deleted. And then this would be a clean copy of what potentially is going to look like. So what I've done, any changes I've made to this, I have made in red. So some of them were from our comments. I know this was one comment. As required in each sheet, a proposed limit of work line outside which no land or natural features will be disturbed or trespassed upon. I was thinking trespassed upon. I don't know if we can really use that word because it's the owner's property. So obviously they can go on their own property. So we may want to revise that and take just disturbed.
I would concur.
Okay. Again, literally each time I read it, I see something different. I can pick, I can keep going forever, but I really don't want to. So
For what it's worth, I also think that the language you added in red is solid.
all right, good. So again, the limit of work line should be bold. A bold distinctive line type be consistently drawn and shall be shown on each sheet as needed, except for the existing conditions plan. Now, Jim, did we discuss adding this to each item? So as we go down, existing conditions plan, obviously, we're not going to have that on there.
I think we talked about saying, basically adding some sort of language, saying, in each individual section, something to the effect of limit of work plan consistent with, section 10, section C 210. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just like a one-line hitter that references up above, so it's circular, but it makes it so I thought we had talked about where we thought it was such an important line thing, just to make sure that we kind of bludgeon everyone that this is a requirement on each plan, and then
Okay.
it kind of references up above.
Yeah, I thought so. So yeah, I will add that. So okay. So coming down, I did revise the tree. So location, caliper, and notation of trees deciduous or coniferous type of all existing trees within the proposed subdivision. All trees within the right-of-way where work is proposed, and all trees within 5 feet of the right-of-way where work is proposed. So as I was writing this, I know it sounds a little clunky, but what I realized in some of the past subdivisions is that the engineer, developer, surveyor would locate the trees within the subdivision itself, or the lot that's going to be worked on. But the right of way leading to that, they wouldn't necessarily locate all the trees. And I've noticed this on a couple subdivisions that are actually out there right now, is that trees were not located, but they remain and they've been filled in or altered to a state at which point they're gonna, shorten its lifespan. So I tried to put in something here where they're gonna capture all the trees. So if there's an abutter's tree or basically a tree within 5 feet of the right of way, and they're filling on top of that, that's potentially gonna alter the environs of that tree. So I wanted to make sure that we were aware of what was going on there. So they basically had to show the tree and tell us how they're going to protect it.
Hey, Matt, I have a question just reading this. The way I read it is that anything within the subdivision needs to be denoted regardless of size of tree. Is that the intent, or is the intent to establish the 6 feet, or sorry, the 6-inch caliper or greater, and then within 5 feet of the right of way, everything?
So basically all trees that are 6 inches or greater. And one thing with that 6 inches or greater, I revised that from currently we have 8 inches. It says larger than 8 inches, which basically says anything above 8 inches. So an 8-inch tree or a 6-inch tree would not show up, but a 10-inch or something else would. So, and I know when I write proposals for trees, I always say 6 inches or greater. So you capture that tree and larger ones up. So the intent is to have all the trees 6 inches and up in the right of way that's going to be altered. So like if we want to look at the end of Stark Ave, they were doing a subdivision on a couple lots.
Do you mind if I pause you? Because I think as you're going through, I think my question's been answered. I think that what we should do is we should take the language associated with the 6 inches or greater, which I agree with the intent, but I think it's unclear when I read this. To me, it looks as if we're denoting every tree. And then
Okay.
I think if you take the 6, basically say something to the effect of, for all trees with trunks 6 inches or greater, location, caliper, and notation of tree on, you know what I mean? I think that it just is a slightly clearer than
Yep.
what's being put in here. But I think beyond that, I think this is a well written, besides that one thing that I'm getting caught up on.
Okay, so the location, let's see, so basically all trees 6 inches or greater located, all right.
I think if you just basically take the second sentence and put it in the front and then make it like a run-on sentence, I think that would provide more clarity in my mind.
Okay, all right. I totally understand, because it does get a little confusing there. So, so do you guys kind of agree with, again, this is a change that we really didn't discuss. I kind of added this in, that we're getting all the trees within the right of way and trees that basically could be close to it. So
the only comment I would have is, and this is more of a question, honestly, is there an interest from our perspective of understanding any trees that are less than 6 inches within the right of way specifically? I'm just thinking in terms of that, anything along the right of way, especially like, not a street tree because it's a right of way going to the subdivision, but is there an interest in understanding if there's anything less than 6 inches for that particular right of way plus 5 or 10 feet? Or is 6 inches, do we think is a reasonable cutoff as it relates to that section?
Well, technically, if the town just came through and planted some street trees, they would all be generally 1.5 to 2 inches. So, but they are already designated street trees. So, getting the language to incorporate those. And obviously, we don't want someone locating every 2-inch tree out there if it's a fully wooded area. But if it's a planned street tree that's been planted, we would hope and expect it to be located. So, yeah, how you're starting to get into some very wordy paragraph here.
I think if you take you have this paragraph, you have that, and then you have like a second paragraph saying, or I think if you basically said, all street trees to be located on plan, something as just plain and simple as that, as you have this, and then you have like a new section, and it's just all street trees to be located on plan with, within 5 feet of the right of way or something to that effect. I think that might get us what we want from an intent perspective.
Well, we'd have to, I don't know if there's a definition of a street tree. So again, maybe I'll add some language, or smaller diameter trees specifically planted as a town street tree, maybe. So I'll work on that a little bit. So
I just personally think that within the subdivision, every tree 6 inches or greater, I think is a reasonable cutoff. But I think that if you're just talking about just a right of way, I think it's reasonable to ask for something of a lower size, just because to kind of catch anything that is a street tree or potentially could be.
all right, so you're thinking all trees in the right of way 2 inches or bigger then, or?
Yeah, somewhere in that range, yes.
Okay. All right, I'll add something to that effect, so, okay.
Also, does anyone else have anything? I know it just seems like me and Matt going back and forth, but
Oh, yeah, there are other people here. Does anyone else have a comment?
No, I appreciate what y'all are saying. So I'm trying to take notes and follow along. So it's good.
Okay.
Right, and just to add too, I mean, we've talked about street trees a lot, and Matt and I have been through this a lot with other things. I really feel, Jim, to your point, it's really good to think about it, and the whole idea that if the town was putting in street trees, what implications that would be. So, yeah, I think it's fine.
All right. All right, moving on to the next. So this is subdivision plan. I did add in this existing walls of fences around boundary line and right of way used to determine street right of way line and parcel lines. Again, this is a little clunky, but sometimes, and it doesn't happen as much here, there are stone walls along right of ways that are the boundary of the street. So I was trying to incorporate that these walls will still be shown. So I'm not thrilled with the writing of this. Keep working on this unless someone else has any better comments on it.
I think you're being too hard on yourself. I think it looks fine.
All right. Again, this is all going to be edited, by DPW and everything. So I'm not that worried about it. So, all right. I'm kind of flying through this. I haven't really done too much to this. Grading plan. Again, a lot of this, there's still a lot of formatting that needs to be done. And when this gets to DPW, I'm sure we're hoping that they go through it pretty thoroughly too. So most of this is a carryover from what we currently have. This is a little change that I kind of, well, we talked about before, tree planting and protection plan. Now, just so you know, I debated amongst myself about putting part of this in the demolition plan, about how to, differentiate this. I decided to put it in this section, but I'm happy to move it back to the other one. Again, this is a carryover from what we had further up. So I said, for areas where wooded sections and or contiguous tree canopies of the proposed subdivision extend onto abutting parcels, the proposed means and methods for limiting damage to abutters' trees shall be noted. So this is kind of like my carryover that I've been harping on for the last many years about, if you're going to clear cut a lot and you clear cut it up to your boundary line, the trees that remain suffer, and those trees that are suffering are on abutters' properties. So I'm trying to put into writing what, and admittedly it's kind of my policy, is that you're going to show how you're going to protect your abutters' trees. So
Hey, Matt, I have a question for just process for this. Means and methods typically is a contractor derived scope, right?
Yep.
And I'm questioning, I think I understand the intent and I don't disagree with it. I'm questioning whether or not the civil engineer or the surveyor or the architect, or the folks who are actually collating the documents that would be submitted to us and our board for our review, who would actually provide that feedback? Theoretically, if say a contractor wasn't on board for the project yet, denoting means and methods, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to understand if this is the right avenue for that type of review, or if there should be some sort of tree protection plan that should be submitted after the subdivision is proposed, submitted for review by the DPW, or some like, what time would be the right time for that type of review to occur?
To me, I think it would be at this point, because we could approve a subdivision and there's some trees that we specifically wanted protected, but if we approve this and we didn't know how they were going to protect it, and they decided they were going to protect it by parking trucks next to it or something, well, that's how we're protecting it. That particularly, that might not be what we would want to see.
But wouldn't that argue for us that it would make sense if to denote that it needs to be protected, and then a condition of our approval would be to submit a tree protection plan generated by the general contractor is going to execute the work for formal review and approval by DPW or town engineer or some other body?
We could do that if we wanted to put that duties on someone else, or is that something we want to oversee? So right now, a tree protection plan of we're going to put a snow fence up, stake it off. We're going to wrap the trunk in 2x4s wired together, so mechanical means won't damage it. That's something we could say, okay, that's good. Show, give us a little detail or something like that. How are you going to do it? Where if someone comes in and says, I don't know, we'll figure it out later, I'm a lot less inclined to believe that they're actually going to do that.
And I guess to your point, having on the civil plans or whoever a detail such as that you referenced with the 2x4s or whatnot, that's not atypical. So that probably actually isn't a bad method, because then it's in the contract documents with the contract that the contractor's buying off of.
Yeah, or and this is particularly more relevant with a street tree where if you're proposing to run all the utilities underground and you're going right up against the right of way, and the tree is on the edge of the right of way, you're going to sever all those roots. So that doesn't really protect the tree at all, and we'd want to know that ahead of time where you may want to reroute those utilities, or for us specifically to say they will not be run over here, and you need to, you know, cordon that area off. Sort of like what we did up on Prospect Street, where there were some trees that originally we wanted to save. After an arborist came in and said they weren't worth saving, we then said, that's fine, but we don't want you compacting that area to lessen a new tree going in there. So that area was fenced off, and we took steps for it. So I'm just trying to get this, you know, documented a little bit more, and it's part of the process right on. So anyone filing a subdivision plan knows they need to deal with this. So that is my rationale for this.
I think after talking through it a little bit, I think that makes sense in terms of when we'd want to have those conversations on the front end rather than delegating it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that proposed means and methods is the correct language for this. You know, we might want to say, you know, demonstrate how you will protect these trees or something like that. So
Yeah, I would potentially think about means and methods, because I know from my experience being an engineer, I typically shy away from putting means and methods on my documents unless I am forced to for whatever reason. I'm sure Bill's the same way as from on the architecture side. So maybe that's something we think about in terms of what that language is, just to make sure that we're not trying to make people, you know, we're trying to be clear in terms of, you know, the intent, but, you know, means and methods ultimately typically is not the people who are coming to us.
Okay.
Only because we leave that off, because once we start to prescribe means and methods, we take on the liability. And I don't know if that's the same effect here or with our planning board.
all right, so so we do want to see how they're going to protect these trees.
I think if you just say proposed plan, I think that's generic enough that it's probably, you know, because a lot of times a plan can be more informal, but not have the liability that's connotated with means and methods.
So,
Okay, so the proposed plan for limiting damage to abutters trees shall be noted.
I think that probably works.
All right. That works for me, and we'll do that on the next section, steps to protect. So for trees that are to remain, including trees within 5 feet of the affected right of way, the proposed plan of tree protection that will be, let's see. This does not make sense.
The proposed tree protection plan or approach that will be utilized.
Tree protection plan that will be utilized. Okay, I like that. All right, excellent. All right, anyone else have any comments on that? Again, Jim and I would, Bill add a little bit, but you know, I don't want it to be just Jim and I doing this whole thing. So if you're fine with that, that's good.
Yep.
And then let's see, did I have anything else on? I think that's basically all I had added in. So the rest of this needs to have some formatting done to it. And then I think the next steps would be to somehow have a conversation with DPW and let them start reviewing it. Now, I understand they're pretty busy. This is not going to be a quick process, but I'd like to get it to them and have them start reviewing it when they can.
I'm in strong agreement with that approach, just because I think that, to your point, it's gonna take a little bit, and B, I think that a lot of the feedback they're gonna give is gonna be likely actionable or, incorporated. So I think that some of the changes that we're making make a lot of sense, and I'd like to start the process with them. And if we keep, once we get it back from them, that will give us another bite at the apple to read through as a board and verify with a red line that all the changes we're proposing make sense.
All right. So what I will do is, now, I think the format's kind of close right now. It will have to be a little bit, once you get into these, some of this formatting was lost in here where you've got the eyes, and the eyes. So I got to figure out where those fall in the hierarchy of formatting. So my other goal is that there are a lot of items that get routinely waived in our decisions, and I'm hoping that DPW can eliminate or address a lot of those now. So we have a lot fewer of those typical, 6-inch water lines opposed to 4-inch, 8-inch, whatever, that's taken care of. So.
Hey, Matt, when we send this over to the DPW, does it make sense to request from them a list of items that are not necessary to go into this document, and maybe just some standard language, refer to DPW standards, so it's not, a series of, in case they change, their standard for at a future time, or do you perceive value in having all the information in this document such that it's more clear, even if it is a little more cumbersome?
Yeah, I think I think this board needs to be in control of many of these items. So if the DPW wants to waive something, that's fine. But again, I think we should retain ownership of these, because this is the authority of this board, is subdivisions. So so I don't want to give them, they can remove a whole section and let them determine it on their own. And potentially there'd be something here that we don't necessarily approve of.
I just meant more for some of the more technical aspects, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, in case in point, we had a completely non-standard, even for Wakefield, proposed subdivision that we just dealt with. I would not want that to basically be out of our hands, and suddenly the entire method of how stormwater is handled in town is all up to whoever the current town engineer is, or DPW director. So again, I think we need to retain some of this control on it.
I second that. I'd also like to add too, and maybe I missed something from the last meeting or looking through. Is the intention that it goes to the town engineer first, and the town engineer then provides or asks for input from DPW? Is that how the process goes? I mean, or do we get separate written comments back from the engineer, town engineer, and from DPW? Like, how do we want it?
I don't know if actual DPW has a lot of involvement with this, because it's privately, it's privately built.
Yeah.
And the town engineer oversees it. So
Okay.
I don't know if DPW itself has a lot of, say outside of engineering terms of what happens. Obviously, we get comments on how they want to plow roads or something like that. So, if DPW proposed changing the minimum radius, and town says, well, we can't physically plow that, doesn't work, then they should be able to communicate that through engineering.
Okay.
So yeah, I was thinking this just goes to engineering for comment and then comes back to
Right.
us, so.
Okay. Can we leave it up to the town engineer to speak with DPW if they need to?
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
So
I like
the,
that.
the town engineer should be speaking on behalf of the DPW in their operations.
Okay.
The same with the water department too. So
Right,
I would think the engineering would run everything through the water department and make sure it's fine with them.
So can you just, that makes sense, but I'm having a little trouble visualizing. So when does the applicant go to the town engineer and when does the applicant come to us? And how do we like continue to receive the feedback from the town engineer?
Well, the applicant comes to us first because this is how they file it. They come to us and then it goes to the engineering department for their review and comment. And that's when they start adding their comments to it. So,
And at the same time, similar to Stark Ave, they may have conversations with members of the DPW or town engineering on the side, but the formal communication is with this board, and that's what causes us, then DPW or engineering may come to us with recommendations similar to Stark Ave, but ultimately we're with the authority having jurisdiction over these matters.
So, and in terms of, I mean, that's just ad hoc tracking their comments, right? There's no other way of doing that. Well, with Stark Ave, they kept, there were letters going back and forth between them and the applicant, and okay.
yeah, and again, I caution you on using Stark Ave as too
Oh
much
yeah, no,
example of-
I didn't mean
Yeah.
to. That's
because that was a little unique, but there have been other instances where this board has approved certain things to be done in subdivisions, and then others in authority in town have decided that that's okay, and they sign off on it when they have absolutely, they literally had no authority to do that, to say it's okay to do it this way. So that's what I'm hoping to avoid again in the future, is for someone to say, oh, you can do it that way, don't worry about it, I'm okay with it. Specifically when it came to building sidewalks in town, where they decided, oh, we don't need to do that, whatever's out there is adequate. When potentially, certain intersections should have been upgraded at all quadrants. You have a nice sidewalk on, one quadrant, and the other three are, to this day a mess. So I want to make sure that if a developer brings a plan to us and we approve it, it gets, it doesn't get accepted until, or it doesn't get signed off on until we are fine with it. I'll just leave it at that, is that we really need to be the final sign off on things that we approve.
yes, agreed.
All right, so if no one else has any more comments on this, I will make some more edits, and then I guess, should I send it out again to everyone to take a look at, or how do we want to handle that? Or
I did volunteer to be your format assistant. So
All right.
wow, that's a pun. Oh my God.
well, I can tell you this may look like it's formatted correctly, but it's not. So when you get into it and start trying to get columns to line up and things to
Yeah.
act properly. It's not going to. So you may be working on this for a while, but it may look a little decent now, but in reality, it doesn't work properly. So,
Yeah, understood. Right.
but, so yeah, what I'll do is I'll work on it some more and maybe send it to you and see if you can do some formatting magic with it. And then I'll have some discussions with the town engineer and get this over to them and get them working on it.
Okay.
And
All
again,
right.
this could be a while before, they get work through. So,
Um, yeah, I certainly appreciate your persistence and your attention to doing this. It's yeah, your expertise really is a benefit, and so that's great. Thank you very much.
all right, and then we still have
Second.
the A&R that once we get this to a point, I plan on having a public hearing before we can adopt this and make sure that they both come out at the same time, and then just update both of those simultaneously. So, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
So no, that's terrific. All right. So our next item is items not anticipated by the chair. So yeah, Jim.
I've got a couple. The first is that I did connect with Jen McDonald and connected with her regarding the website. So everyone might be able to see there's a lot of information that was relatively old that has come off. One thing I wanted to make sure we were all in alignment on is there is still like the Lake Quannapowitt zoning analysis that's currently on our website. For the talking points back from March of 2021, as well as some documentation for some presentations from January of 2022. I wanted to just double check with everyone before I had the conversation with Jen, but is this something that we still want on our website, or is this something because of the master plan and some of the other elements that have come and gone on this conversation? We're not actively pursuing this. So my initial gut reaction was to direct her to have this removed from our website at this time. But if other people feel strongly one way or the other, I just want to make sure that I'm in alignment with everyone else on the board before I start having things removed.
I'd be
Yeah.
fine with removing it at this point. I think it's going to confuse people if they go on there and see that and think it's still, in the works.
Megan and Bill.
I agree. Remove it.
And then the other item that I wanted to make sure we were on alignment on is Jen put together, I think, a pretty solid first go at MBTA zoning impact. Some really quality, a landing page for that that could be added as a tab on the left of our website with some background information and some links to relevant materials, final guidelines, the presentation Mr. Mayo made to the town council. Are people comfortable with me directing her to make this go live, or do you want me to start sharing a screen and have people take a look at it before we send it?
I'd like you to share the screen if you don't mind and see where it's supposed to be, because in past items like this, thinking of the master plan and Vision 2030 and Vision 2030, a link from our page to this page. So a lot of those documents would either be ZBA or they would go on to Erin's page. So where do we want the ultimate place for it to land?
You're talking about for the MBTA community?
Yes. Like where is this a new page that just lives on its own and we link to it?
Yeah, so where this would live is so on our website, this master plan meeting videos, subdivision plan. And also, can everyone see what I'm sharing?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So on this tab, there would be a new tab which
Okay,
bring you to this, and this is the draft of the MBTA community
perfect.
zone. And then there's actually a tab to share your thoughts, which would allow the public to actually submit something to the board specifically related to this this effort.
Yeah, if I could interrupt, I'm a little concerned about share your thoughts, because if people are sharing their thoughts, but nobody's actually addressing their thoughts or getting back to them, it might be a deterrent than more of a help. So I do like the idea, but who's going to monitor that and respond to them if they do share their thoughts?
So I think that that's a valid concern. I personally would raise my hand, or I think it would make sense for us as a board to have that conversation. But I think
Okay.
that that's something that we should think about. But yeah, just to walk through what's on here, the way that it's teed up right now is some background as it relates to some of the really big, 15 units per acre located within a half mile, no age restrictions. There's some links in here as it relates to the final guidance, the base of the Department of Community Development, explains what is an MBTA community, why is it important, importantly, in some respects, in my mind, the non-compliance, what the results of that would be. And then there's this kind of next steps, which I think probably can start getting filled out as it relates to, when we start defining what that process looks like a little bit more. But for now, it has, basically, the deadline of December 31, 2024, and
Right.
the action plan by January 31 by 2023. And then the other thing that I think that this does that's very good is, learn more, which I think if folks are in agreement, I'd rather have this tab instead of being a separate one as part of this landing page, but it has essentially, again, the final guidelines, the presentation of town council. I'd probably have her put this back on, with the other, not have a separate tab nested in here, but I think that in general, I think this is a good thing to get started as long as we continuously maintain it through the balance of this project.
I know I'm speaking up a lot about this, but if you go back to the Wakefield Planning Board tab, I really like that it would be like right under the master plan above meeting videos. And I like that it does go to its own landing page and it's not lost in the content. I also, if you now do go back to and scroll all the way down to the bottom, I'm a little concerned with that link under next steps, submit an action plan. Can you click on that, please? This scares me a little bit because if you scroll down, it actually goes into all the questions. If you keep scrolling down, there's actually like submit. What is this? Is this only because I went through this because I was curious about it last week or earlier? Well, I guess this was, yeah. I'm is this the actual plan that will be submitted? Erin, do you know a little bit more?
Yeah,
about
I
this?
would remove that. That's for
Okay.
the town. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not for, yeah. I mean, you can find that on the state website, I'm sure,
Yeah.
very easily, but I wouldn't call it out like that.
That's a good catch, Bill, and I'll have that conversation.
Yep. Yeah, I tend to click on every link and look through it. And that one I'm like, whoa, you mean I could submit this right now just the way I want it? Sorry. Okay. Erin, you're muted. I can see your lips moving.
Okay. Can you just go back to the okay. All right, I just was wondering what the wording was around that too, and if it was needed.
I think
At
just
all.
make the link inactive. and
Yeah.
The wording's fine.
Yeah, it seems like, do you, never mind. I'm good.
So I think I'm gonna have that link omitted. I was gonna have this learn more information put down to the bottom of this for now. maybe keep the learn more tab for future. I'm sure that there's a whole host of things we could add, but I think just to have the baseline of the final guidance, the presentation to town meeting, and just the overview page from the department from the state. I think those 3 links are probably worth having in the main body, but then as more things start populating this, I think it's good to have a learn more. If people are okay with those edits, I'll talk Jen, get this up live, and then also get the Lake Q components out, and then I'll get the bylaw for the street name up onto the website with the dates, that 27th for the general bylaw review.
I'm going back to the share your thoughts. I would personally remove that. That's just what I think. Not that I don't think anyone's thoughts are important, but that's why we're kind of having the public forums. Because again, I know you volunteered yourself to go through that, but if there's no action for the thoughts, it just, I have mixed feelings about that. I don't know. Bill, I know you mentioned something. I don't know how everyone else feels about that, because I do see the submit action plan there again. And what are their thoughts? Is it where they want the zone to be? Because then people are gonna be like, well, I don't want it near my house, I don't know.
I strongly would advocate for some sort of ability to have people be able to provide feedback. I think one of the things associated with the zoning is that I think it's going to stir a lot of emotions, and I think that we need to provide outlets for the public to provide feedback in a manner such that people can feel as if that it's inclusive and participatory. I think that even just having even just outlining here, like, ways that you can share your thoughts in terms of public forums, and as we start to define those, maintaining, curating that to be up to date, and any other ways that process is outlined. I think that's going to be an important way to make sure the public is engaged, such that people don't feel, to Matt's points when we had the lake conversations, we don't want to make it feel like it's a bunch of people who went in a back room, decided something, and is now shoving it down people's throats. I think it's incumbent upon us to lead this process, but it's also incumbent upon us to provide outlets such that the public has the ability to provide feedback.
Yeah. So I really agree with both of you, and I'm wondering, so I am wondering, what do we, Aaron, what do you need, and how do we help you prepare the action plan? So what is there a process for that would be best informed by some public discussion? I think that's one question. I do think really what Jim is getting at, like, it's really valuable to be able to have some open-ended conversation that I think helps I demystify what this is, and make it, people see more of the opportunity of it rather than the threat.
My just concern is you're gonna get, I don't like it, and
Yeah.
or they give feedback and then you don't listen to it, and then it's still the same situation where people in that back room were making the decisions. I provided this feedback and they didn't listen, type of thing. That's always my concern. I'm on the other side of you guys. I know, working for the public, we did have an ARPA funds forum as well, and we did have people provide feedback and I know there's certain projects that are based on what people gave back to us, but I feel like, I don't want to use the word contentious, but this is kind of a contentious subject that I feel like a lot of the feedback is just going to be like, I don't like it, or I don't want it here, I don't want it there. And then we go ahead and do something and people are going to feel like they weren't listened to. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just, that's just my only concern. And in regards to helping me, I mean, the final guidance just came out last month. I know, Jim, you've talked to Steve. I've been on leave for a little bit, and so I have to revisit that conversation with Steve on what that looks like, but I don't think a forum is the worst idea where more information is provided other than the meeting that Steve had with the town council with the final guidance. So I'm not against that, and people asking questions, being able to provide more information. I think that's a good idea, because I hate to say it's out of our control, because we do have control of what this zone looks like, but a lot of the regulations are out of our control. So I think that just needs to be clear to the public as well. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. And I always don't want you to think I'm pushing back. I'm just thinking of it from a different way of being internally within the department and town hall.
So Aaron, I think you bring up a good point, which is actually unrelated to this, that I wanted to bring up is, I think as folks may or may not be aware, the final guidance pushed some of these deadlines out a little bit from 2023 to 2024 as it relates to getting this component in. However, with that being said, I think that we've been having what I would call the talking about conversation as a group for a long time. Trying to figure out a way that we can create a pathway to success. And I know that different members of the board have reached out to other relevant stakeholders. Myself with Mr. Mayo, I know Theo's reached out to some town council members, and other members have had conversations with you, Aaron, about this for some time. I'd like, if other folks on the planning board are amenable to this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have some sort of subcommittee from this group to kind of continue those conversations and be empowered to try to define a proposed process to at least get us to the starting block, and then come to this board with information from the other stakeholders that collect the information from, as well as a proposed process, not a proposed plan, but a proposed process to identify what that is and the key stakeholders to engage with. And I think that if we do that, I think, in a couple weeks or a month, we could probably have it where we have a process at least identified that we as a board can review together. And if we're in alignment on, we could start that process and start teeing things up. So I wanted to throw that out as something that to see if what other members of the board might think about, just because I think this is probably going to be a long process, and I think that we probably need to make sure we think about it thoughtfully in a way such that we're teeing ourselves up for success.
And I think that goes back to your transparency, including a number of boards and having this subcommittee as well, having different voices that, between the ZBA and the projects they see. Even fire was on town council last night, and concerns they have with continued development and them being respond and building up their department to make sure that they can respond. Again, I'm not saying we bring in fire, but I think there's more conversations where we could have these different committees working together on it, because they probably have different views than we might have, and vice versa. So
yeah, I think I just want to make sure I'm being clear. I think what my ask to the other members of the board right now is to some number of the members of this board being empowered to go have conversations with other key stakeholders, and then use that information to report back to this board in terms of a proposed process to start the engagement. But I think you're right, Aaron. I think that at some point there's going to need to be some sort of, I hate to use the word, but working group with members of this board and other key stakeholders. But I think that that list of other key stakeholders is something that there's another series of conversations that need to be had to make sure we identify who needs to be involved in what process. But I do want to make sure that our board is the one who's leading and defining something, and then going out to the evangelizing that with everyone else. But I want to make sure I don't want to go off and have a bunch of conversations with people, but then not have other members of this board not engaged or have the opportunity to provide engagement in terms of defining that process.
Jim, I think that's a very welcome idea, and I would say also, I think other boards would really enjoy being invited to a planning board meeting, as part of a series of conversations around this in some curated manner. So I think that's great. Any other comments from board members? Anyone interested in being on this subcommittee? Yeah, Bill.
I'm muted. Yeah, I understand, and I know in years past, there's been some frustration, and to Erin's point too, how do we get the boards to talk to each other more? I think this is a good step. It's a positive step. It's a proactive step, and I'm all about being proactive. So I would like to be part of this, and I want to make sure though, as a board, we're not giving mixed signals, or different board members are going to meet with the same people, whether it's a town council or another board. I want to make sure that other committees and boards that we're meeting with the right people there too. So I think it's going to take a little planning involved, and I don't mind helping with that. But I feel we're going to need some help from Erin to make sure timing is right and content is correct. I guess correct is the subjective side of that, like what we're trying to accomplish as a board, meaning not one of us is going out and speaking for the board, but
Right.
We're gathering and researching information, not pushing, but pulling.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern. You know, I think that I know a number of members of this board are passionate about this in terms of trying to figure out how to make this go forward. But I also I want to be cognizant of the fact that I don't want to have conversations with other folks and then not include, or we want to make sure that we're all in alignment in terms of, you know, we get to a point where we think that we have something that is, you know, presentable to ourselves, and make sure that we're in alignment before we start really engaging with other folks in a meaningful manner.
I feel like we are all in agreement, and I think both Bill, you and Jim are conceptualizing it the right way, and I really like the phrase "not pushing but pulling," and it is about doing that outreach. So I'm very happy to defer to the two of you and be a junior member. So if you say, you know, go talk to this person, I'd be happy to. I think something that is in concert with this really are the upcoming public town events that we might want to plan ahead for. So I think you know, 2 is always our magic number. So I think that's it. And this is definitely something we can keep as an agenda item and check back to. Is this does this resonate as like a reasonable, moderated process for folks, not tipping over any apple carts?
And Theo, if I could add to it, I feel like as a board, what's happening in the town of Wakefield and looking at the next couple of years, I'm so excited about the master plan. I'm really interested in how this town is growing and how we can really help give the town a voice and proactively share the information through our website and other methods to make sure that a lot of the facts are getting out there. And it can start with this MBTA plan, but it's going to be a lot more. So I feel the more we can practice doing this, the better we'll be, the less time it will take. But I think as a combined effort, we really have a lot to do in the next couple of years. And in some ways, I feel a little overwhelmed by it, but I'm really interested in like what this future is going to be. And maybe this is the right time to talk about it too. Erin and I were chatting a little bit earlier today about when is the right time to think about approaching town council about a part-time town planner or something in that matter to really assist Erin in this process. I feel the workload's going to double and triple for this master plan and everything else to happen. And we know where we already are. So just another topic to bring up. And I know Theo, back in June, I drafted and sent to you two pieces on two proposals on what that could be to town council on how a part-time town planner could assist Erin, share the workload, support our board and the ZBA, and help to connect all the boards and committees in the town that really have to do with the growth and planning of Wakefield. Because I think we all see that that's missing. And I don't know if any other board members want to add to that, but I really feel we need to move this to a priority list, our priority list.
I second that for sure. Is that something? I don't know. I'm happy to glom on and pack that into October 11th, if that, is that something we would want? Or September the 27th or the 11th.
Well, my point is, if we don't start doing it now and it's springtime and it takes 6 months to 8 months to make this all happen,
Yeah.
I would love for a town planner to be starting part-time in the spring, not next year at this time.
Sure.
When that master plan and everything is coming through, I would love for that part-time planner to also be part of be a co-creator of the direction we're going in, and not just someone who comes in after we figured a lot of it out.
So I'm game.
I would second a lot of what Bill has said. I think that in terms of trying to make sure that we are setting us up for success and frankly setting our economic development up for success by freeing Erin as a resource up for some of those other other important activities that we as a town need to be encouraging. I think it also, I just think of, some of the stories about what Paul Revis and how he was a dedicated resource for the overlay zone, and, had time to research, what did, X town do 10 years ago, and just thinking about what kind of time sink that would that could be for either, the MBTA or anything else that comes out of this master plan, and how many, hopefully actionable items come out of that. So I think that it does make sense, if there's a letter that's been drafted, in terms of what we could send to the town council. My understanding, based on some of my conversations with town council members, is that they're getting pretty close up to some of the deadlines as it relates to when they would need to put something like that into motion in order to make it to the warrant for the November town meeting. So I think that if there's something that we can, pull up and review, and or if there's something that's we can empower someone, if we as a board agree that this is something that is something that we would like to request from town council, I think it would make sense for us to review that and potentially, act on it in the near term.
Can we do that right now? Because I think a draft letter is 90% done. How do other board members feel? We could have another, we could sort of finalize the draft and approve it either now or next meeting. That seems within the timeframes, but I'm happy to approve it now.
I'm scrambling and digging it because it's on my home laptop and I'm obviously still at work. So I do have it. I can share and give me a minute. There are, if you remember, there's two versions of ones. I like the shorter version. Obviously, it's short and sweet. Let me get that going and share. Okay. If you all can see the draft. Dear council members, our board would like to explore the need for a part-time town planner position. Please advise us on the next steps to work with town council to move forward with defining tasks and duties, as well as a combined understanding to the differences between our community and economic development director's role. That's one. I guess I should have just shared the whole thing, right? Here's the other one. Are you able to see that? It's a little bit longer and it defines the tasks and roles, meaning I just took a stab at doing that.
I can't see that. I don't know if anyone else can, but.
No, I think that's the same thing that happened before. Let me try it again.
Yeah.
Now?
You're good.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the longer draft that explains a little bit more, goes into a little bit more detail. And it's just pulling some of what Erin doesn't really need to do. She could be part of it and have her input, but yeah.
I personally would advocate if we are going to send a letter, I think something similar to this one may be more beneficial in terms of providing guidance to the town council, where the other one is kind of we think there's a need, but please advise. Where I think this is a little bit more like I think this is more actionable.
My only concern with this is this really the duties of a planner? You're asking the town to hire a part-time town planner, and I don't want to just, I don't think we should be the ones who are defining their role in town. We can suggest some things, but to put this list up, it is really not a lot there.
Right.
So, I mean, and then I know there's been a lot of talk in town that people want a town planner to control growth and control the ZBA, but for the most part, that's not what the town planner does, because anything that goes before ZBA does not need to go through a town planner or have any comment at all from anyone in town, because it's basically their rights to do that. So if we push to hire a town planner and nothing changes, I don't think that's going to be a good solution. I know a lot of people have ideas of what the town planner is going to do. I think a lot of those ideas are a little misguided as to what they actually can do. And I'm not talking us, I'm talking in the general community. So being able to free Erin up to do her economic development, which is completely different than regulating town planning, I agree, you know, splitting those duties up would be good, but that list there, I don't think incorporates enough duties to justify even a part-time position, let alone trying to hire a professional town planner to work part-time.
I think that makes sense. I think you, another sentence, exactly what Bill was saying, like, we need to expand the town staff capacity to advise on development and implementation of the master plan to help plan ahead for MBTA communities and does that I think get to a little bit of your point, Matt, like sort of not defining like the procedural steps of the role, but the professional role and resource, the capacity that the position adds to the town.
Yeah, basically, if we're going to advocate for a town planner, I think we should aspire for duties that are a little bit more than what's listed there. No offense,
Sure.
but
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
I don't think
offended.
you could justify that with the town budget writers, that it's worth it spending more money to have someone attend town meetings and fill out the agenda. So,
Well, to your point, Matt, maybe it's worth, let me see if I can share both, like just whole screen. Yeah, it's not letting me do a whole screen share,
Yeah.
but, and maybe it's more short and sweet, and we aren't the people we aren't the board that defines the tasks, but we push it to town council to define the tasks, to work with town council to move forward with defining tasks and duty. Maybe it's this simple one that is the first step.
I tend more to go with this one instead of defining
Mhm.
tasks that, it's not really our role to write a job description, basically.
Okay. I remember going through this with not Erin's specific, but the original, what was supposed to be a town planner position that turned into not a town planner position. And I know we've had these discussions after sitting at town meeting and listening to it and just looking at each other like, this is not a town planner position or expected to be doing both. So maybe town planner isn't even the right position. If it's an assistant to the director, to Erin's position, then maybe that's what it needs to be. And it's a different role. But to have an actual town planner, I agree, Matt, for us to put the description together, it's not our job. It's really town council's job.
Yeah, I personally just feel like this is a bit overstepping, at least from my perspective. Like if Erin feels like there are duties that she cannot fulfill that need to be filled, and then that's a conversation that she should have. At least that's how I feel, with whomever is appropriate. I just don't feel comfortable like providing my name on this to say like, I think this is, I just feel like it's overstepping. And if that's what she wants to do, then that's great. And I'm happy to sign a letter as like a support on her behalf. But I just don't think that we should be the guiding principle to make that decision for her, or in place of her. I don't feel comfortable with it. So.
Thank you, Megan. I think that's a really important thing to consider. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective. I agree. And that's the awkward part of all this. And that's why the conversation back and forth with Erin to try to figure out how this works. But that's a really good perspective.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, Matt. Okay. Sorry, Matt, I thought you were unmuted because you were you had a comment. I think there's I think this is something that we have to keep working on and do a little more work outside of this and discuss at the next meeting or something. We can strategize it. I think there is a shared interest in helping the town plan ahead, and that having more capacity within the town staff to help the plan, help the town think strategically about future development and future growth in along with the master plan, and sort of more broadly, not just about development. I think is really important and part and parcel of our board and our mission. So thank you all for accommodating that, that discussion. I really appreciate everyone's comments. Jim, did you have any other items? Okay. Anyone else? I have just a couple, but.
Well, I have something real quick. I just
Yeah.
got a notice that there's an info session for the high school project on the 27th. So, you know, that's the same night that not that we're going to be taking people from that. It's just another scheduling thing that people, you know, have to deal with. So,
yeah.
Is that, sorry, Matt, I saw that too, because that's the scheduled school committee meeting night too. Maybe that's why.
Perhaps, yeah.
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 I know we're always in a struggle for that schedule with the school committee.
And, you know, I was just perusing the town calendar, and it's kind of amazing that really not much is posted on there. We have a town meeting date and it's not on the calendar. We know there are future planning board meetings scheduled that aren't on the calendar. It's a little frustrating. I'm trying to find out what's going on and nothing's on there. So, and then one other thing I had to comment, I don't know if everyone got the ZBA review for the Water Street project. Couple of my quick comments on that. It's a little infuriating to see, you know, they're trying to get a project like this in here. They only need a parking for commercial if they have over 1,000 square feet. Of course, their commercial unit is 999 feet, which is seems to defeat the spirit of what is intended here. But I don't know if anyone wanted to put any comments in on this, but you know, part of the problem is we've got 1.5 parking spaces per 2 units, which is woefully inadequate for town projects these days, which is part of the issue we're having in town is, you know, too much parking everywhere. So, but I don't know anything we can do about it, but I'm not too happy with it.
I did not see it. So is there a, maybe it's downstairs and I missed it. What's the street number and what's our deadline to respond?
I pull up the PDF, but we don't get them. So
Yeah.
184 Water Street. Is that it, or am I getting my paperwork mixed up? I think it's 184 Water Street, and September 14th is the deadline. So this was dropped off last week, I believe. So it doesn't give us a lot of time to comment on much of this stuff.
And I'm willing to entertain, God, you guys are gonna hate me, us considering a letter or at this point, are we willing more to just be citizens and attend the meeting? Other folks?
I was just more venting, not that
Okay.
any letter that we do is going to change anything. So I'll be content to just get it off my chest.
All right.
Well, Matt, and to that point, a lot of other jurisdictions, larger cities are reviewing parking requirements. And I think you're aware of this. It's starting to get momentum, catch momentum. I know there's a lot of opposition, but there's also a lot of people pushing for reducing parking. Yeah, so it might be coming our way. Hopefully it's in our master plan somehow.
To reduce parking or
Yeah.
to? Well, that's fine if we have a reliable transit system, but
Yeah.
we don't have that in Wakefield. We're down to one bus
Mhm.
that does a circular route. So that is, we could almost argue that these aren't transit oriented projects anymore because you cannot realistically commute into Boston.
Right.
So only if you take the commuter rail and you know how well that runs. It's not really, the schedule is not conducive to running back and forth.
Yep, and I have to jump off in like about 5 minutes because I have
Sure.
to catch the last one. or
Fair
one of the
enough,
last
fair
ones.
enough. I will just take a quick minute to say the master plan update. September 21st, we have our in-person advisory group meeting to plan ahead for our next public forum, which is, I think, also going to be in person. But I'm not sure about that. It will address transportation and climate resilience. So you couldn't ask for a more timely series of conversations around these issues. We've got, I'll follow up with y'all, but we want to participate with the ZBA, have a joint table at the town day on October 8th and a joint table at Wakefield 101. So I'll follow up with Aaron and Jen McDonald on those two things. And I think we had a little snafu around the A&R for 514 Water Street. I'm gonna double check that with Aaron, but we may have to re-sign Form A. So we'll be circling back with everybody. And I may be running after you as you're, or not, but I'll coordinate with everybody. So those are my last two items. So if there aren't any other items, can I get a motion to adjourn so that Bill can commute?
So moved.
All right, thank you.
And I
Thank you,
will
sir.
second it.
All right, thank you, Megan. All in favor, Bill Spalding.
Yes, please.
All right, Megan,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
all right, Jim,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So I really appreciate everybody going the distance tonight. Thank you.
And no worries. Safe
Thanks, Jeff.
travels back home, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll come pick you up. That's what I owe you if you're
Really?
late. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Okay. No, this
All
is good. It's not until 9:30, the train. I have
All right.
plenty of time to roll my bike over. Thanks.
Good stuff.
Bye.
All right.
Have a good night. Bye.
All right. Good night, everybody.
See you, everyone.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you.